Welcome. This week, we're getting ready to go over lessons 77 to 80. Before I start on the lessons, I just want to address something with y'all. This time of year, we took time off for the holidays and now we're back at it. It's winter time. It just feels like maybe this will never end. Kind of hit a little slump. I don't know about y'all. I always hit a little slump around this time. I don't know if it's because of just the weather itself, the time of year, but I want to encourage you guys. Your attitude will rub off on your children. It's so important that you guys refresh yourselves, refill yourselves. All right? Don't what's the word? Don't get depleted. I look at it like a little tank, like a gas tank. Our car is going to run better and longer and farther when the tank is full. When the tank gets empty, we can have a problem. That happens to us too. So I don't know y'all's situations, what's going on, but I do know I've been through some really rough seasons. And there's times when I've been able to get away to go to a retreat. That's probably not something that's very available right now. Sometimes I could get away in the car and I could put on some music, just drive around for a little bit. Music that, filled me, fed my soul. Then there were times when I was lucky I could just run into the bathroom and close the door for 5 minutes without little hands sticking their fingers under the door. Mommy, mommy, mommy. We're all in different seasons. I want to encourage you guys. Keep yourself filled up. If you're not filled up, it's going to be really hard to give to your kids. All right, enough about that. Let's see what materials you'll need for this week. You're going to need your abacus, the clock, the geared clock, the appendix page of the clock without numbers, your hour and minute number cards, your math card game book, a dry erase board, the worksheets, and the appendix page of the clock with minute hands. So could you tell by the materials that you needed what we're going to be working on this week? Yeah, we're going to work on telling time. So let's get started with the lesson 77, hours on a clock. Notice on the warm-up that your child's going to be doing the last two problems from worksheet 26. This is something you can do at a different time than starting your math. You could give this to your children earlier, or you could do it later. Just depends when you want to do it. This is not needed to warm up for this lesson, but it is needed because it's helping your children practice adding those 4-digit numbers. So this lesson, we get to start using the geared clock. And depending on the kind you have, some of them have a knob on the back where you can turn. This one doesn't. In order to get it to turn, you're going to have to use the minute hand, which is that blue. And if you want the hour hand to move, you have to move the minute hand around. All right. If you try to move it this way, you can see it is not budging and you're going to end up breaking it. So make sure if you want it to move, you move it by the blue minute hand. And as you're teaching your children, it's okay if you want to say the minute hand is the blue one or it's the longer one, the hour hand is the red one or the shorter one. But don't keep calling it the bigger hand or the shorter hand. Work with using the terms minute hand and hour hand. I also would recommend, if you do not have a clock that looks like this in your house, you can buy one inexpensively, and it would be good to set one up. This is something even my kids to this day tell me that they did not have enough practice with, and it's harder for them to tell time on a clock that looks like this because everything is digital. Usually all the clocks we have in our house, the microwave clock, the clock on the stove, our alarm clocks, our clocks on our phone, they're digital. Children are not exposed to this kind of clock. So if you can, if you're able to, it would be good to purchase an inexpensive one and put it up somewhere where your children will pass by it and have opportunities to see and tell time. So this is the appendix page they'll be using for this lesson. It is the clock without numbers. The other thing it calls for is the set of hour number cards. I've looked high and low in my house and somehow I've misplaced them. I have a feeling I passed them on to my grandchildren and they live too far away for me to run and go get them. They're about a 20-minute drive. So the best I could do is I have this and we're looking for these cards right here. They're small. They're not big cards. So you'll see some that just have an 8 on it, and then you'll see some that have the colon with the 40 and other numbers. So that's what you're looking for this lesson. And then in the game book, your games are going to be C2, and that just means C for clocks. So you'll look for the section that says clocks, and then look for the number, and then that's the games. Something else that I think is really clever, and you're going to notice this when you do the lesson, but what color is the hour hand? Red. What color are the numbers, the hour numbers? Red. What color is the minute hand? Blue. What color are your minutes on the clock? Blue. Anyway, just thought that was kind of neat. Wanted to point out, it does say to the lesson, but anyway, just had to share with you now. Lesson 78, hours and half hours. Look at the first material that you have in here. I didn't mention it on the PowerPoint because I wanted to show you in the workbook. So you have your child's workbook. We're looking for the sums practice. And it says it's found after the math journal, but some people miss that part. And I want to point out, so you have your math journal, right? It's kind of towards the end. Right behind the math journal, you have what are called the sums practice. And don't freak out, they're not going to do all of it. They're only going to do the first 2. And just like in the previous lesson, this is something they can do at a different time. They don't have to do it during math. So it can kind of free you up a little bit. You can ask them to do this earlier in the morning or the day or later in the day, depending on when you're doing math. Just whatever will work, but just know you don't have to do it with the lesson. As you can see, lots of different games to play. The thing with telling time is it's not really difficult, just takes practice. The games will give you that practice. Today's focus is just on the o'clock and the half hour. So they'll be having their arm up in the 12 o'clock position, and then it'll swing down to where the 6 would be. So it's a fun activity, but it really helps children to really start understanding what is the top of the hour and what is halfway through the hour. For the activity drawing hands, it recommends using a dry erase board and drawing a clock on it. Here's another idea. Put this in a page protector. Then you can write your numbers around it with a dry erase marker, and they can practice drawing the hour hand as well as the minute hand. And if you just happen to have a red and blue marker, they could use red for the hour hand and blue for the minute hand. Lesson 79, minutes on the clock. Again, your warm-up starts off with 2 more of the 4-digit numbers that will be found behind the math journal. And then this lesson's all about minutes on the clock. On the second page, it shows what your clock's going to look like. And like I said, I put mine in a page protector. It just makes it easier, and the kids can play around with it. I don't have to worry about stuff getting spilled on it. Anyway, so notice the activity where they're going to stand up, they're going to use their hands to represent different times on the clock. And we're doing the hands by 5. But the big thing is we want them to really understand what 15 minutes after means, what 30 minutes after means, and what 45 minutes after means, and that they can see those without having to count by 5s. So that's something that, you do a little bit during class, but maybe through the day at other times, have them show me 15 minutes on the clock, and have them use their hands to show you, their arms to show you. Show me 30 minutes. Show me 45 minutes because that gives a great reference to the time rather than have to count by fives. It's tedious. So at least they could see the 30, know it's 30, and if they need to do 35 or 40, that's a lot easier than starting at 12 and go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Last lesson for this week, lesson 80, more minutes on the clock. Yes, this whole week it's just been nothing but clocks. Kind of a nice break, right? Hopefully your kids are really enjoying this. What's neat about the lesson today is that they're going to learn multiplication, but they don't even know they're doing multiplication, and we don't even talk about it being multiplication. But they're going to work with 5-minute increments on the clock. And they're also going to use their abacus and enter it into the abacus. They're going to see how many minutes are between 12 and 1, how many minutes are between 12 and 2. Then we're going to ask how many groups of 5 are between 12 and 1. There's one group of 5. So I'm just going to show you guys because I just thought that was so cool when I was doing this with my kids. I never saw it before. But 5 times 1, 5 minutes. 5 times 2, 10 minutes. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 4, 20. 20 minutes. So they're going to be learning their multiples of 5. They don't even know that's what they're doing because they're associating with time. But it's so cool when it clicks. Again, there's more games to play. Just like the note to the teacher says on that second page, the basics of telling time are quite simple, but practice is necessary for the fluency. So play these games, get one of these kind of clocks for your house. It comes in handy. We will work with digital, but for right now, this is what we're working with. All right, we did it. We got another week done. Have fun this week getting to work with clocks and the hour hands and the minute hands. I just remember my kids always enjoying working with the clocks. I hope it's the same for y'all. I hope this is a nice week. A little bit of a break from all the different strategies and things they've been learning. A time for their brain to just absorb adding those 4-digit numbers, but also getting to learn about telling time. It's always exciting to be able to tell time. Join me next week as we go over lessons 81 to 84. Until then.